This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'm in Sheffield today. I'd like to be joined by Showtime's Sonny Edwards. Sonny, it's been a minute. How you been?
Yeah, I've been good. Just in my new place now, just in the process of moving in. I mean, there's still a few boxes everywhere and that, but yeah, it's been the longest I've been out. Not training or having a goal like a fight date for over a year. Cause I've been back-to-back fights, and it's frustrating but been refreshing at the same time. Probably needed it. Because literally going from 10 round fight with 8-week camps in between everyone, a week off if that, it does get onto your body a bit, and obviously probably the build up as to why my hands went the way they did at the back end of the year. So giving them a good rest and mentally refreshing. I'm in a good place now, and I'm looking forward to actually getting back onto keeping my momentum going that I've still got. I've got my last outpatient sort of appointments. I've got an ultrasound next week and my final appointment with the hand specialist a week after to go through it, and then should all be good to punch. They're not really concerned about anything. It was just a matter of 8 weeks clean, do not punch, otherwise they will not repair. So yeah.
You've been incredibly active before this break that you mentioned. Yeah, you had 2 bust hands after the Braithwaite fight. Do you think this is almost a blessing in disguise, as you sort of touched on there? Obviously, one hand wasn't quite right, sort of building into the Braithwaite fight. You went through that anyway, got the win. Do you think this has been much needed? It's almost a blessing?
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating for me because if it was up to me, I would have been booked in for the 22nd, the York, or whenever it is, the York or February card, or in March. That's what it was looking at for me before I got injured. Just because, simply put, I like being in the gym. I like having something to aim towards. I feel like I do enjoy boxing that much where there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. Don't get me wrong, I can enjoy myself outside of the sport, eating what I want, being able to have free time and be a bit normal. But 99 times out of 100, I'd rather actually be in the gym focusing on something. And it's a bit frustrating with my hands because I found myself I've been hitting runs, I've been hitting some strength sessions, but I can't bring myself to being around the gym all too much because it just gets me down a bit, not being able to punch and that. So really the best is having a little bit of time off. It has been a blessing in disguise. And like I said, I'm hungry and I'm ready to go.
Just to go back to when I last saw you, which was just before the Marcel Braithwaite fight, wide points victory for yourself. You're obviously down, had to deal with a cut as well. How do you reflect upon that fight now? A good learning experience for you?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, a vintage performance for myself. I performed better, but that's a credit to Marcel. He came and surprised a lot of people with the performance he put in. That said, I still won what I felt, me personally and my team, 10 rounds clearly of the fight, with the knockdown, and I gave him the second round, which was a close, kind of scrappy round. But I evolved and I adapted all the way through it. Every time there was something that people was going, oh, this could cause him a problem, then by the next round it wasn't causing me a problem no more. I mean, the second round he was very physical. He was just trying to hold, wrestle. He was putting his head in my chest. So in the third round, what was I doing? I was putting my head in his chest every time he was tying me up, and I was walking him back, and then negated it straight away, and it stopped. Like I said before, after the fight, both my hands were battered by the second round. So that's why I wasn't really looking to mix inside all too much, because I weren't trying to risk the health of my hands for 12 rounds with punches that weren't really going to count. Them sort of tapping inside, getting little slips, they don't really catch the judge's eye too much. So I was looking to get back on long range, score a clear shot here and there, and go for a move, tie up, and just make it that sort of fight, which was frustrating. Not the fight I wanted, but it's a fight that it had to be. And yeah, he caught me with a peach of a combination when he put me down, and I'll be the first one giving it credit that. I wasn't particularly hurt, I wasn't all over the place, but he caught me. But if you watch through the fight, especially up to that point, my rhythm was his first shot he went, I would slip back, then his second go, I was slipping to the side, and it was working, for all the way through the 7th round. And then he doubled up on the jab, missed with both, I made him slip, but then he just threw a right and left hook while I tried throwing back. I got a bit complacent, something I don't always tend to do. And I got caught with the first one, my leg came up, and then he put me down with the second one. And it was a great shot, but even though I've only been down twice in my life, I've had, that was my 14th fight as a pro. You learn on the job. That's why I didn't jump up straight away thinking I need to prove to everyone I'm not hurt, or because it's irrelevant. I'll take my knee, I'll take my breather, I'll get up, and then I think from that moment onwards to the end of the fight, I put on a boxing lesson. And I think by the next round or the round after, there was like a period of time where my opponent sort of, he looked like he gave up. He put his hands down, and I threw about 5 or 6 punches. He didn't really react. He just moved back. And I think I took the sort of hope that he thought he could build up on, and it just completely went, because I have that sort of elusiveness and style that when I do actually not want to get hit, I'm a very, very hard fighter to hit. But against these like proper people that I respect going in there, like their punch power, like I'm weary of it. I don't really let them land all them too many shots. I try all fights to avoid it. But with Marcel, I felt a bit more comfortable. Like I think he caught me with better shots, clean shots, like earlier on in the fight, especially in that second round. He caught me with a few good ones, but just the way my foot was tangled up. And like I said, he's not the biggest puncher in the world, but he hit me hard enough to hurt me. And that, from that moment when I got him respect, I think you've seen like a different me in there, and it kind of like turned the engines on, and I was firing at all cylinders then. And it helped me as well, because it made me forget about my hands hurting for a couple of rounds. My ears were still ringing. But no, it was a good one that I'm glad to get through. The cut again didn't bother me. Obviously, there's a clash of heads that caused it. And then I don't know if how purposeful it was, but our heads were coming together a couple of times after that. And I remember we get warned by the ref at the end of one round. It looked like he went in with his head, but it's all, try and get every little advantage, especially when you're down. So I can respect that and I can understand that. But like I said, it didn't affect me. I had a great cutsman in Kerry Kays, who did a fantastic job, but because by the next round, even though it was still open, it wasn't bleeding. And I just protected it from there on, and tried to protect my hands as much as possible, and bring home the British title, because that's the only thing that was important. And it's put me in a great place now, where, yeah, there's some people that don't like me, don't like my style or my boxing anyway, will be very negative on that performance and say, if he gets caught by a big puncher, he's getting knocked out, he can't do that, and that's fine. I don't mind these people writing me off, because they're the ones that are probably going to be more attentive to my next build up to my fight, to my next fight announcement, to my next actual fight. So it's not a bad place to be. I know what I can achieve. I know how much I can take a shot, and when I'm switched on, I'm a very, very hard person to hit. I have the tendency. I'm naturally quite a lazy person. I can get complacent. That's why I need always things to push me on. Hence why when last year I was injured, I didn't come back into like a 4, 6, 8 rounder, which I was advised heavily to do. And same way with these hand injuries, I'm not trying to come back into those 6, 8 rounder, because I know as long as I've got the go ahead that my hands are all right and I have a good 10, 12 week camp period, I'm ready to go against anyone in the world, because it's just the way I am. And then I can look at people like Dave Oliver Joyce. He lost to Lee Wood for probably one of the lowest points of his boxing career on like a big platform, and he's bounced back however many months later, before the rest of the lads on that card have boxed again, and he's got a career best win in Lee Haskins. I know it's obviously at the end of his career and it went the way it did, but he still looked good doing it, and he's pushing on from there, and that's what I respect, and that's how I like to lead my own career, and that's how I feel like I'll keep going. I mean, I don't think you learn. The only thing they can really do is get you through a whole camp and stuff like that, but I can't get up for them, so I might as well just have a hard spar in the gym when I'm not fit than do a whole camp for like a rollover. Do you know what I mean?
You mentioned you don't want an easy touch when you come back in from injury. In terms of your next move, there was talk on social media of a rematch with Marcel Braithwaite, possibly. Now Tanaka has sort of freed up WBO flyweight title. I think you're ranked number 4 in line for that belt. What do you expect the next move to be? Do you think you could be sort of manoeuvred into a world title shot?
Yeah, well, let's not beat around it. I've made my intentions very clear that given the chance, I'll fight and push for that world title, flyweight, WBO, in my next fight. I've told him a date from May I'll be perfect with, with like my physios and the hand specialists. That's what we've been said. And there's options as well. I mean, if you just look at the top 5, there's Mirko Martin from Germany, me at number 4, Nakatani at number 3, Acosta at number 2, and McGregor at number 1. And I'll have any single one of them. And I mean, McGregor, who's the number 1, 24 wins, 20 knockouts, 1 loss points to Mohamed Wasim, who's a great fighter, one I've shared the ring with and sparring. I've said to my team, and they're sitting down and speaking, I said, I'll have him in my next one from me. And that's no bluff, that's absolute certainty. And I'm in a great position where, obviously, everyone knows Uncle Frank's relationship with WBO is a great one, so it helps his fighters. Of course it does. But that being said, Frank was a big driving force as to why WBO is now recognised as one of the 4 kings. So it makes sense. And I feel like if you turn around and look at the trophy cabinet behind you, you've got the WBO European, you've got the WBO Intercontinental, WBO International. I've won every other title that they have to offer. So I've done my, building up for them, and they've always looked after me. They've liked me, WBO. So at the end of the day, they want their world titles being fought in front of the biggest audiences possible. I'm ranked 4th, and I've gone openly said I'll have number 1, and I'll defend it against whoever. Do you know what I mean? And I'm making that intention very clear. I don't care about protecting my record. I want to challenge myself. I want to be mixing those great fights, because when you risk to lose it all, and I feel like I'm good enough that no matter who I'm in there, I'll put in an honest performance. Like, I'm not a hype job, I personally don't think. I feel like I've done the years, the groundwork. I've proved it time and time again where I can go, and now it's time to prove it at the biggest level. That being said, if it doesn't come off, because there is a number 3 and number 2 above me, I perfectly understand. I'm not going to take it personally. I'm not going to take it to heart, because I'm not the first, second, or third person in line for it. But who knows, this time next year, if this doesn't happen, I might be one of the top 2 or number 1. Like I said, I've got all the belts that they've got to offer. What more do they want me to do? And especially now as Tanaka's vacated, because don't get me wrong, Tanaka was someone that I wasn't actively chasing to get in the ring with, because he is, a freeweight champion. He's a great fighter, and for me to get in the ring with him, it needs to be where they want me in the ring with them, so I get what I deserve, and I get paid, and it builds up the right way. Because when you have great fighters like that, there's no point. I've seen what happened to great fighters. People like my brother, chasing like a great fighter like Casemiro. You don't get paid as much as you should have. You don't get the opportunity. It comes too early. Do you know what I mean? And I don't need to be in that position. I've got the world's best management team behind me. And when they asked me about this, which was only yesterday, they went, "Does your trainer think you're ready?" Because they know I think I'm ready. And then I said, yeah. And then the second time they messaged me, "What does Grant think? Do you know what I mean? Does your trainer think you're ready?" So I messaged him. We had a little sit down, had a look, and he was like 100%, because he believes in me just as much as I believe in myself. And I think it's one of those. Don't get me wrong, I'm not for a second talking negatively, but it's for me. Something I don't think I could lose on, and something I'll be very confident in winning as well. Because the Magramo, if it did come off that it was him, because he's the number 1, he's got the biggest say towards it. I feel like he's very strong. He can punch very hard, but styles make fights, and he gets most success when people are standing there in front of him, something that I cannot do for 12 rounds very, very comfortably and stay. And he seemed to have slow footwork, and for me that's what I look at when I'm looking at like an ideal opponent to have against, because if I can sort of get in and get out and throw it in between the phases, I can cause an absolute nightmare for people. And getting in the ring with someone like that, I would be very wary, very cautious, and my defence would be on point, because that would be the main thing we're learning. Like, for a couple like my last fight, like Marcel, I was looking at punching a hell of a lot more. I was looking at backing people up, throwing body shots, head and body. But then when my hands went, that kind of all went to pot. Even though we kind of knew that before the fight, but that was like the game plan, to sort of try and break him down later on. And I feel like even though I was moving, like I still did in the last 3 rounds, I was really starting to back him up, chopping head and body. Even when, and obviously Marcel comes in very good condition, and I think in the 9th or 10th round, I threw a peach or a right hook to the body. And that was the hardest. That was the most my hand hurt, and that was a body shot. And I remember Carl Frampton saying something in his last fight along the lines of, "My hands were hurting, so I kept taking them to the body." And that's usually what you do, because it's usually a lot softer. But fucking hell, Marcel's abs were like rock. I was like, fucking, I'm not throwing no more body shots. His head was softer. But yeah, if I could get a WBO, it would be fantastic. It would be me at 15-0. Done everything that's been put in front of me. Won all WBO titles for them. Ranked high at the IBF as well. Like, I'm getting to a legit, there or thereabouts. I'm not world level at the moment. I'm not saying that for a second, but I'm getting close to, putting an argument in for myself that I can be there or thereabouts. And I feel like this would put me on that platform. And obviously, there's still a long way to go yet, because it's just something that's getting talked about. But like, that would be a dream realised. Just fighting for a world title. I'm only 24, just turned like last month, and I feel like I've got a long life left in this sport. But to try and get hold of one of those world titles would be a goal realised.
You said you on the cusp of world level, but you're not naive enough to say that you're completely there yet. And I noticed earlier you said something about you have a tendency to be lazy at times. Do you think if you were to go in for that title and step up to that world level, that almost fear of your opponent would bring out the best in you in camp, in the ring as well?
I mean, if I just look at my track record, it always has. Pretty much every fighter that I should have beaten growing up as an amateur, like, they're the ones that seem to beat me. Do you know what I mean? It's the ones that everyone thought, nah, Sonny's going to win this. And then they're the ones I've lost. Every time that it's, oh, Sonny's really up against it here, that's when I've always come out. And it's been like that. And look at my performances. The fights that are meant to have been harder have been easier. The fights that are meant to have been easier have been harder. It's just that's just the way I am. And it's not the best thing because you can fall. But at the same time, it's just my mentality. I know I need something to get up. And I know it's cliche, but I genuinely think given the opportunity like a world title, you would just see a different me, you know. Like camp would just be different. My mentality would be different. It wouldn't be like 3 weeks out of a British title fight eating Monster Munch and having fucking Curiously Cinnamon in bed. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it would be a different mentality and something I'd cherish and thrive on. But at the same time, if I don't get it and I'm still defending my British title at super flyweight, then I'm all for that as well. I'm in a great place right now. So I'm not going to like beat myself up or start throwing my toys out the pram and slating the WBO or for if this doesn't come through, because it's just an idea at the moment. But one that I'm very willing to work on, and it shouldn't be the hardest thing in the world to make, because as a vacant title, the number one would probably think I'm a much easier fighter. I mean, I know I would think I'm a much easier fighter than Tanaka, and if it's getting offered to him by a proper promotional backing with the WBO's blessing, then why would he not fight me rather than... Because really, if you look at it, probably on paper, looking at it, I'm probably the second easiest out of the top 5 after the Germany's number 5, because Nakatani's 20-0, Acosta's 21-2 with a lot of knockouts. I think 21 knockouts or something like that. So on paper, I look like the easier touch. I'm young, you know. You look at the picture of me, I'm not in the best shape. It should be there. It should be quite easy to make, and with obviously the TV backing and ESPN in America, like, there seems to be a lot pushing that would be a likely scenario, because let's make no secret about it. Around world boxing, it's always been the case. The people with the best promotional backing tend to get the best opportunities. It's just the way it is. But that being said, you don't know what could happen. The WBO could have already ordered and already made and agreed terms of number 1 and number 2. They might have already known Tanaka was vacating because obviously he was regarded as super champ. He's gone straight up as mandatory for Iokas. So I don't really know. Like, I don't really know too much, but something that I'd like to do. And I feel like I'm ready. I feel like I'm really ready, and it would be one of them ones you get the best out of me. I feel like I'd come in much best shape. You know, I've already got, just in preparation. I know I'm boxing in May, thereabouts. I've already got, you know, like my meals and my food prep from Rendell's up in Scotland. Quick plug to them. They're sorting out all my meals and food, and you're gonna see a different me. You know, I'm getting sick and tired of being the little like fat super flyweight. You know what I mean? And looking gaunt at the weigh-in and that. And it's no one else's fault but my own. And don't get me wrong, I don't exactly cut too many corners, and I still put the hard work in. But there's just certain things I can clean up, and I know that I'm not ignorant. And I feel like this. Well, I need to do it now anyway. But this would be a great reason and help to motivate me.
Just to take matters away from yourself, Sonny, there's a few fights I want to pick your brains on. Your good mate Jay Harris has got his world title shot against someone you've seen, Julio Cesar Martinez. What do you make of that fight? How much of a chance do you give Jay as well, stunning the boxing world?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, me and Jay were speaking yesterday. He messaged me going, "Oh, are you going in for that the vacant title?" And I went, "Yeah, we're trying to already. We're already on it." And he went, "Oh, fucking hell, we're buzzing for you." Because me and Jay, we actually really, really like each other. And I think he's such a good, lovely kid, family man, and I proper like him. And that is genuine, not just for any reason. And I said, "Oh yeah, if we both win these titles, we're going to have to unify against each other." Because it's mad, 2 years ago, pretty much to the day, was there, like around this time, was in Ukraine together, talking about, we could fight each other soon. We're thinking at this time for like the British title or something. And there's like, yeah, you know what I mean? If we had to, we'd go for a beer after, just like me and Marcel did. You know what I mean? Went for a drink after, and it'd all still be love. But imagine fucking 2 British lads unifying, like, and if that'd be the first person I'd want, obviously. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong though, Julio Cesar Martinez is a bit of a beast. And I mean, if I ever do pick up a world title while he's won, there's definitely a fight I'd look at for myself. But obviously they have to show me the money for that one. Do you know what I mean? but he's got to come through Jay first. And I've seen how tough and hard Jay hits and how big of physically strong he is. Like, don't get me wrong, the punch power obviously goes with Martinez, and he dealt with Gonzalez quite well, who's resilient, tough, strong, not the hardest puncher in the world, but he can bang. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a hard ask for Jay, but it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity, and you just don't know what's gonna turn up. Martinez has got the world title now. He's been fighting. He might be looking at Jay as an easy touch. You have no idea. Think how many times stuff like this has happened. And I would honestly love more than anything for Jay to win. I've even said to him, I think he's up against it. It is a fucking hard fight. So, seeing what he done to Selby, seeing what he done to Charlie, both who arguably at the time of the fights was probably more. What's the word? Probably more. I don't want to say valued, but they probably had more like respect at a world level than Jay has, like from the general public. But that means absolutely nothing when that first bell goes. Like I said, I'd like to see Jay do it. I know Charlie would like to see Jay do it. I'm sure Andrew Selby would like to see Jay do it, especially after Martinez got done for drugs. I mean, let me not beat around the bush. I don't care what they're trying to spin on no meat or I really don't. Because at the end of the day, if you find something in my system, then there is no excuse, and there shouldn't be for them. I don't like at the end of the day, especially when they're making good money, they've got a good setup, a good team behind them. These things should be able to be avoided. Do you know what I mean? Avoided very easily, because it's not like they're just low income, run of the mill people in Mexico. If the story what they're trying to tell is actually true, and it's just like. Just because you get caught with a trace in you doesn't mean there was only ever a trace in you. Do you know what I mean? It's very, as we've seen, it's very easy to pass a drugs test. Like, Baby Miller, what he failed, 2 drugs tests in, the space of 5 days. But he failed some things on the first one that he didn't fail in the second one and vice versa. And it's like, well, that's crazy. It's like, if it was there 5 days ago and then it's not here now, it's like, think how easy it must be to flush this shit out of your system. So, I don't really have any sympathy for that whole side of things. But, that's a whole other topic, and I'd like to see Jay do it on a personal level, and because of that. But Martinez, you can't take it away from him. He can clearly fight, he can clearly punch, and I think the most impressive win he's had is against Gonzalez just then, because everyone else that's fought Gonzalez has not put a dent in him, and I'm talking Yafai had hard rounds when Gonzalez was younger, obviously Selby, my brother, and a list of other fighters, and Gonzalez is a very hard man to hurt. Like, catch him flush and he just walks in, and Martinez kind of beat him to a pulp in the last stages of that fight, and that showed that he had that engine as well. Which for me, the game plan was always more for like Charlie, get through the first 4 or 5 rounds, let him tire himself out a bit, and then start trying to take him to work, and that would be my game plan for him as well. But there's a credit to his team, a credit to his engine. I know Gonzalez he boxes at a weird pace, because it's a slow pace as far as things that, like, movements are going, but it's a fast pace as far as action's going, because he's just he's like a steam train, just keeps coming forward and forward, it gets caught and comes forward and forward. So, I mean, he showed a lot there, but, like I said, again, and I keep alluding to, I do genuinely want Jay to do it.
Couple more fights before I let you go. Yafai's finally got the big fight he's been craving. Roman Gonzalez out in the States. What do you make of that fight? A lot of people suggesting it's not the same Chocolatito we had a few years ago. How do you assess that fight?
A lot of people are suggesting he's completely shot, which that might be the case. But at the same time, there's enough people that wanted to see that fight for long enough and were calling to fight and see Chocolatito. So what I don't want to see is, if Yafai beats him well, I don't want everyone just to pile on, he finished that. Because, everyone knows that. But everyone's signed up to watching the fight, and they're getting paid what they're getting paid. Like, everyone knows that. Do you know what I mean? So that's not an excuse. Simply. And, because you don't know, Chocolatito could pull it out of the bag. Like, we don't know if this is the best Yafai that's ever been. Do you know what I mean? He might have been better 3 years ago when he first won a title. He's had a bit of a stagnant. I know he's been fighting and winning, but he hasn't had any fights to get up for. Really, since Lewis Conception, and he fouled weight. Isn't the best anyway. So it's an interesting one, and I don't really know who I'm backing. I think it's more 50-50 than people think. Because one thing that Roman Gonzalez still has in him is a scrap. And I think Yafai hasn't really got it in him to box all too much. He wants to have a let's go to work. So I think that's what's interesting. I think Yafai is a bit bigger than him. More like a big field out of the weight. Gonzalez was down at like flyweight and stuff, wasn't he? And then flyweight. And he looked a bit fleshy when he's been boxing at super flyweight. But this is his last chance for us. Win another world title. Get back in the mix. Money, everything. That being said, sometimes you just go with the fresher, younger, and more like kind of active, if you saw a better word. But I think Gonzalez only lost to Siskret. Do you know what I mean? So, and I know Siskret has then lost to Estrada, but Gonzalez had beat Estrada. So it's like styles make fights. It's just that. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's an interesting one, and one that I'm actually looking forward to. It's a good card actually. That day, especially for the lighter weights, very good card. But if Yafai wins, which, I mean, I've always been alright with Cal. I mean, I think since the whole like Charlie thing, he probably doesn't like me for whatever reason, probably. But he still said cool to me here and there. I'm still really good friends with Galal, his younger brother. For British boxing, yeah, man, go on and win. Like, it doesn't really make no difference to my day, if I'm perfectly honest. But I feel like it's one of them ones that a lot of people are still asking to see him versus Charlie, and a lot of people are asking to see him versus Charlie because they want to see him knock out Charlie. And I think and then a lot of people are like, that makes a good thing. And I feel like when we have two class fighters like you do have in Cal and Charlie, and they're both British, I feel like that's when we need to get them on, because that's when you have your biggest nights. I mean, some of the biggest nights I can remember from things like Groves versus Frotch. Like, do you know what I mean? There's, like when it's an all British, you're just so much more entertained and like invested into the fight, and you can miss them. Like, I think how frustrated everyone has been in history with people like Hatton and Witter, for example, the fight that never happened. And then you've got now Kelbrook and Khan. That's literally like thinking this looks going to happen when they're both like touching 40. It's crazy when they could have fought 5 years ago, maybe fought a couple of times and made so much more money, but no one wanted to give up that little bit of percent. And I mean, especially at the lower weight, you haven't really got that luxury of going somewhere else to fight for multi millions. So who knows if Charlie gets a little string of wings. Yafai does Gonzalez, maybe has another good win after that, and maybe they'll come together. I think for both of them, I think eventually something's going to have to give, because obviously Charlie's a big name, really. Just as big as Cal. I know obviously Cal's still a world champion, was a world champion for longer, defended him more times. But, I mean, a lot of people will say he's had kind of an easy touch. I think that's fair to say. I don't think he can disagree with that all too much. But then you compare it to, because I know WBA are a bit mad at their mandatories and stuff, and they're kind of lenient. But then look at Charlie. WBC mandatory was Martinez, who has gone on, and now he's not there yet, but a couple more big wins, and he's touching pound for pound status, really. He's got some very good wins on his record. I know he's not there yet. I'm not suggesting he's there yet, but he's not a million miles away, especially for the lighter weights and how he's winning these fights. But yeah, like, I'd like to see Cal do it. I mean, the more titles in Britain, the better. If me and Cal ever come on a crash course, like, what people don't understand is, especially at the light weights, but not even just, like, at any weight, in order to be in like a big like legacy fight and make a hell of a lot of money and have a hell of a lot of interest, you need like a level like dance partner. You need someone else to be doing well. So that's why I never wish bad on any of my domestic rivals. Obviously, I've wanted to fight them all earlier to try and leapfrog up to the higher things, but I've crept my way up anyway without them, really. So now it's like, I want someone else to get up there with me. Say if somehow in this time in 3 months I'm WBO world champion and Jay Harris is WBC world champion. I mean, right now you'd get massive odds on that. Do you know what I mean? But that would be great for us, and if we fought, like, that would be 10 times bigger. Do you know what I mean? So you need other people to succeed, and then you cross paths that way. So all these fighters around me, I actually do want to do well, just not better than me. Simple.
Last one before I let you go, Sonny. Obviously, we've got a huge rematch. Always keen to pick your brains on big fights. Wilder Fury 2 on Las Vegas at the end of the month. Tyson Fury linked up with Sugar Hill. Says he's training for the knockout. He's going for the knockout. He predicts 2 rounds. Do you believe him?
I mean, does he believe himself? I don't know. I've not spoken to him personally. I've seen the interviews, and I mean, you can't always say what Tyson says as truth. I think that's a big part of his character. He just throws curveballs non-stop. To the fact that they're not curveballs anymore. But yeah, go for it, man. Like, I don't know about that one. I was meant to be going over there. I'm not now. Things have happened. Things have changed. Not going now. But it's alright though, because I'll be at my best friend Levi's comeback fight. So that's all cool. But I don't know, man. Fury hit so hard, didn't he? Sorry, Wilder hit so hard, didn't he? And I can't imagine what it's like at that level, that mentality that Fury's got. All I know is sometimes you've sparred people and you've been in the ring with someone that hits really, really hard. The next time you get in the ring with them, you remember how hard they hit. Do you know what I mean? So it could be a case of that. It really could. But that doesn't mean a bad thing by any means necessary, because that could switch Fury that bit more. That's what he normally does with me. But you still remember it, so that's why I think the second round knockout would be a bit of a stretch. Because Fury doesn't need to do that. For a lot of people, Fury won at least 8 rounds. 2 knockdowns. You know what I mean? For a lot of people, 8, 9 rounds. So it'll be interesting to see. And something I'll tune in. Like I said, Levi's fighting on that day. So after we'll be celebrating, and then probably go to the casino to watch it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, because obviously the first one was such a great fight. And it's good that, at the moment there's the 3 kings. And it's good that 2 of them are fighting, but we just need to get AJ involved now. I don't know what's going on with any of that, because I think he's tied up. It's hard when you've got all these belts. I feel like the fighters eventually turn around and go, fuck the belts, and let's just fight each other. I mean, because that way they can actually make all the fights without having WBC needs to make franchise, and WBA making super champ, and WBA making regular, and do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it might rather than the governing bodies, it might be more on the fighters. If the fighters stop going, well, I'm only fighting you for a world title and stuff like that, then we might get somewhere a bit sooner. But I can understand when you put a whole life, a body of work, and it all sort of has one point of a peak where this is where you can create your name in history and legacy. You kind of want that world title, so I do understand it. So there's no perfect solution, but like I said, I'd like to see the winner fight AJ, but then I would also really like to see AJ fight Usyk, which has been rumoured. I don't know how likely that is. I think Usyk may be fighting Derek Chisora, maybe? I don't know. I've not heard much more. I know probably Derek probably went, yeah, I'll fight you. A week later, yeah, I want double the money. And then a week later, I want double the money. But yeah, I don't know. Because Usyk's a great fighter, isn't he? But it'll be interesting to see how we can mix it. And then it'll be when the new crop, the Daniel Dubois, the kind of JoJo's, I guess, whoever sort of makes it out of the little funnel they're in at the moment, when they step up to fight one of the big dogs, it's also very interesting. More fights like that than Fury versus Wilding, or Dubois versus Fujimoto, or Tyson versus Luis Ortiz 7. Do you know what I mean? We've seen that now. Let's see something else. Let's see someone else fight Ortiz. Because don't get me wrong, great scalp, great win, great fighter still in Ortiz. But let's see someone else fight him, and let's see you fight someone else. That's for me personally.
Sonny, I've kept you here for just over half an hour, so we'll leave it there. But thank you as always for making time for Boxing Social. Thanks for having us at the new flat. Got to say, the belts behind us look fantastic. We'll catch you very soon.